Today, I'm cooking some brisket on the Weber kettle. Let's start up prepping our Weber kettle. I'll be using the slow and sear today, which will make our cook today pretty effortless. Let's line up the opposite side with some foil to make cleanup a little easier. Now, let's start up with some charcoal. I have about 12 briquettes here that I'll start up. Let's add in a quart of water in our water reservoir. For our wood smoke, I'm using a mix of cherry wood with some hickory. Once the charcoal is set, let's drop the rest of the charcoal. Ideally, I'll want to cook this brisket between 225 and 250 degrees. I'll adjust later on in the cook and cook in the 275 range if things are lagging a bit. In the meantime, let's get our brisket ready. We have this 12-pound prime brisket all trimmed up and we're ready to season up. I won't go into too much detail on the trim, but here's a quick run through. What I ended up doing was to first remove any excess fat from the meat side to clean up. On the fat side, I removed this hanging piece of meat. People also call this the mohawk. And I trimmed down the fat cap down to a 1/4 inch. Finally, I took the time to round off a bit and make it a little bit more aerodynamic to prevent any of the hanging pieces of meat from overcooking or drying out. I've been very aggressive with the trimming process lately because I know I can make some beef tallow with the fat trimmings and I could grind up some of the meat for some burgers. If you've been into my channel before, you know I love topping some leftover brisket over some freshly ground burgers. Time to season it up. We'll start off by seasoning the edges. Once we finish the edges, let's season the rest of the meat side. I'm using salt and pepper 50-50 mix. That's 1 part pepper and 1 part salt. I'll also be dropping in some Blood-So's brisket rub. It's a very coarse rub and I'm a very big fan of it. Let's turn over and season up the fat side. Same process as before. Drop in our salt pepper 50-50 mix, followed by our Blood-So's brisket rub. Give it a nice pat on the back, chest, and let's put it on our grill. With the slow and sear, you'll want to cook fat side up. My vent settings were set to a 1/4 open, both the top and the bottom. The SNS ran beautifully and I didn't have to make any adjustments and temps locked in at 225 throughout. Okay, we're at the 4.5 hour mark and let's check on our brisket. Bark is setting nicely. We have some fat pulling up, but that's pretty normal. Yes, it'll have an effect on our overall bark formation, but I'm okay with that. If you like to avoid it, do what Harry Sue suggests and place a chunk of wood underneath to create a dome shape, and this way you'll have no pulling. Thanks Harry Sue with your black belt trick. Let's cover and check back in 90 minutes. Okay, it's been 90 minutes. We've reached the stall. The fat is rendering nicely. The bark is set and this brisket is ready to be wrapped up. If you're curious, this is what the charcoal consumption looks like after 6 hours. Normally at this point in the cook, I will be wrapping and finishing it off in the oven. However, since there's some charcoal left, let's wrap and finish the cook out here. I'm using 2 pieces of butcher paper here. Let's fold up the sides a bit and begin our wrap. Tighten it up and keep tightening it. Now let's turn over once again and tighten it up once more. Tuck in the edges to make it a little nicer and let's put back on our grill. Before placing it back, let's stir up the charcoal and clear out our vents from any ash. The SNS is doing such a great job so far. Let's not block in our vents with any ash. Also, if you are curious, I did not refill the water reservoir at any point during the cook. Once the water ran out, it still ran great. I'm going to start monitoring internal temperatures. I'll place in my temperature probe, cover, and resume our cook. As you can see, our brisket currently has an internal temperature of 165 degrees. We will start checking for tenderness once it reaches 200 degrees. 4 hours later and we reach 200 degrees. Time to check for doneness. First, let's remove the temperature probe and start probing for tenderness. Probe the point, Ooh, smooth as butter. Okay, now the flat. This is tender as well. The flat is temping at 204 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a total of 10 hours total cooking time and this brisket is done. I'm gonna let this brisket get down in temperature to the 180s and I'm gonna go hold it in the oven set at 140 until tomorrow. If your oven can't get that low, consider placing it in a cooler along with some preheated fire bricks. I've held my briskets for close to 9 hours using this method. And if you're using a rotom-molded cooler like a Yeti, I suspect you'll get even better results. Okay, it's the next day. This brisket has been resting for 10 hours and it's time to slice. Let's remove it from the wrap. Drop in some of that rendered tallow and juices back on our brisket for that beautiful shine. But before we slice, check out our beautiful brisket. As mentioned before, the area where the fat pooled during the cook has a patch with some, well, lost rub, but I'm completely okay with that. The imperfections in backyard barbecue can still produce beautiful, beautiful results. Let's slice. The lack of smoke ring was a bit of a bummer, but I'm still very happy with the results. This brisket is super moist. It's sliced beautifully. Let's run through our tests. First, the bend test. Success. Now the pull test. Great success. And now the taste test. Wow, this brisket came out terrific. As much as I want to sit down here and eat the brisket, it's time to serve some for our guests. So I can't hang out here for too long. Let's prep up a plate. Start with some pickles, some barbecue sauce for, whoever wants it. Let's drop in some delicious coleslaw along with some macaroni salad. And can't forget the star of our show, our brisket. Let's drop in some of the flat. And can't forget the point. Oh yeah, delicious point. Some jalapenos for some spice in our lives. Oh yeah, let's fly in some sliced bread to help scoop out some of the deliciousness. There you have it, some deliciously smoked brisket, plated beautifully. If you enjoyed this video and want to see content like this, please give me a like and a subscribe.